What's up, social media world? It's me, BP Ben Peters, and I am so excited about today's video because I'm going to tell you about my first eviction. Yes, I had to evict my very first tenant. It was a doozy. It's a very drama-filled story, so please stick around. But before I get started, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like this kind of content. And with all that being said, let's jump into it. All right, as many of you guys know, I started this channel to share my experiences about being a real estate investor, a real estate agent, and everything about investing your money and creating a legacy. I'm here to tell you about the good things. I'm also here to tell you about the bad things, things that you can learn from my experience. And so I had my first eviction. So without further ado, let me jump into it. This property that I'm talking about is located in Fridley, Minnesota. I closed on it January 18th. Nothing to write home about. Decent property, nothing crazy. It's a quadplex. There were 2 units that were vacant, 2 units that were occupied. And the seller had informed me, hey, one of the units has prepaid through all of February, so rent isn't due until March 1. February 1st rolls around, and I get a message from this tenant saying, hey, I am the caretaker of the building, and the previous landlord paid me $50 a month. This is red flag number 1 that I learned from this experience. When a tenant asks for an advance on anything, red flag number 1. So he said, hey, with Valentine's Day coming up, I'd really like an advance on my caretaking, for lack of a better term, salary. And I said, no, absolutely not. We don't do that. We will pay you for the work that has been done on the property. And he said, oh, I was the caretaker. Guys, this property was always in shambles. There was always crap laying all over the place. The yard was always full. There's always shopping carts, all this kind of stuff. And so I said, no, absolutely not. So February rolls around, March 1 rolls around. This is his first month that he has to pay rent. No rent. Nothing. I usually give my tenants until the 5th day of the month, but if I don't get rent by then, I usually check in. So we checked in and said, hey, rent was due March 1, what's going on? And he said, hey, I've come on some hard times. I'm really looking to get some rental assistance. In Minnesota, they do have state-funded programs for renters if they want to get rental assistance. And so we said, hey, we'll give you this month. Go ahead, get that rental assistance, and we can talk again April 1st. All of March, he said, hey, I'm working on rental assistance, working on rental assistance. Come April 1st, we check in. Hey, where's rent? What's going on? And he's like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to swing it. I'm checking in on rental assistance, all this kind of stuff. Well, at this point, we said, hey, we've given you a month. We're gonna give you 30-day notice to vacate. So we gave him all the way up until April 11th to try and pay that, to go through that rental assistance channel. He didn't pay, so we said, all right, we're giving you a 30-day notice to vacate. So we gave that on April 11th, and so he would have until May 11th to get out. Once May 11th rolls around, we're texting him the entire time. Hey, just a reminder, May 11th is your last day. He had excuses out the wazoo. I can't be out because my storage unit that I was storing stuff, it flooded, so I'm gonna need a little more time. And I was like, okay, hey, I'll give you another week. I give him another week. You need to be out by the end of the week. Yeah, I'm almost out. I've got some of the stuff out, yada, 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 whatever. Well, my handyman goes over there because he's planning on flipping it, getting ready for the next tenant, and he barricades the door, so my handyman can't even get in there. So I get a call from my handyman, hey, I can't even get into the property. I'm peeking in the windows. This dude's not moved out in any way, shape, or form. So I told him, I said, man, I don't want to evict you, please. And I went for what I call the cash for keys principle. It's gonna cost me $600 to file an eviction with the state of Minnesota. I don't want to evict you. He said, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna take advantage of that, whatever. Then he comes back 24 hours later and says, hey, $600 isn't enough. How about $1,500? And I said, all right, if he can be out, get out of my life, everything like that, I'll pay $1,500. I'll give you your entire security deposit back, which was $900 plus the $600 that I offered him cash for keys. We go there 24 hours later, and again, he barricades the door. All right. There's no reasoning with this guy. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to file for eviction. On May 23rd, I filed for eviction. I get a call about a week later after I file for eviction. Hey, the court has accepted your document, click. They didn't give me any other information. I was like, what? Well, what? My mistake was I was like, oh, okay, I'll probably get another phone call or I'll get something in the mail. All right, I'll kind of sit and chill a little bit. Well, 2 weeks goes by and I'm like, I haven't heard anything from the courts. I haven't heard anything from the city. I'm gonna quick call on that and see where my court date is. So I call, what's the status of this case? And they said, oh, your court date was yesterday. And I'm like, what? I never got a phone call. I never got anything in the mail. And the person on the phone said, you're supposed to get a phone call and you're supposed to get something in the mail. Neither of those I got. So I said, all right, what are my options since I missed that court date? And they said, you're gonna have to file for a new court date. So my next court date was August 15th. So for those who are keeping score, this guy has not been paying rent since March 1st. And he's gonna go all the way to August. That is 5 months of not paying rent, almost 6 months of not paying rent. Well, August 15th rolls around, I give him the summons, in time, all that kind of stuff, and it's Zoom court, okay? So he shows up on the Zoom call, the judge asks, hey, would you like some free legal advice? It doesn't cost anything. And he says yes. So then he goes into a breakout room in a Zoom with a lawyer. The lawyer then comes to me and says, this particular tenant, his girlfriend is a part of a Native American tribe and they want to make you whole on the rent. What we are requesting is if we pay all the back rent, will you not file for eviction or expunge it from their record? And I told the lawyer, I was like, man, I'm not in the eviction business. I'm not trying to make people homeless, anything like that. If they back pay me for rent, absolutely I'll expunge it from their record. They originally wanted to stay in the property. If they back pay rent, can they stay in the property? And I said, it's been really rough. The handyman actually went in there one time because one thing had to get fixed, and my handyman said, Ben, it is in rough condition. So I said, if they back pay rent, they're out by September 1st. I will expunge the eviction from the record. I won't file, all that kind of stuff. I signed that agreement, the lawyer signed the agreement, and the tenant did. So that's best case scenario. I'm ecstatic, I'm pumped about it. September 1st rolls around. Sure enough, my tenant texts my property manager and says, the storage unit where I'm putting all my stuff, it flooded again. I really need another 24 hours, all this kind of stuff. And my property manager's like, do you want to believe him? And I'm like, he's lied to us so many times before, I'm inclined not to believe him. So he said, if you're not out in 24 hours and you don't have that letter of guarantee or the money in my hands, I will be filing for eviction. Well, that 24 hours goes by, he ghosted us. He has not returned any phone calls, any texts, anything like that. So I went down to the courthouse and I said, hey, I want this going on his record, because at this point I had given him so many chances. He took advantage of me, took advantage of me, took advantage of me. And so if I don't put this eviction on his record, I'm really screwing his next landlord, quite honestly. So for those keeping score at home, let's talk about money. This channel is all about money, finance, building your legacy when it comes to real estate investing. So what I lost out in rent from March 1st till September 1st was $900 per month. That was what rent was, plus late fees of $50. So once you put it all together, it was $5,700 that is not in my bank account that should have been. Now the property is in really rough shape. I'll show you some video of the property I walked through today, and it's in better shape than I thought, but my handyman was there and has totally demoed the place. And so it's down to, you know, all the flooring's ripped out, all the baseboards are ripped out, kitchen's ripped out, all that kind of stuff. So I'll show you some B-roll here. It's gonna cost me $5,000 worth of labor and then about $5,000 worth of material to get that place back to where it needs to be. So not only am I losing out on $5,700, but it's gonna cost me an additional 10 grand. So that's 15, almost 16 grand that's coming out of my pocket. So that's all the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. The positives are, I am totally gonna flip this property. I'm gonna put in some really nice LVP. I'm gonna put in some nice kitchen cabinetry. I'm now going to be able to get $1,300 a month with this. So I'm getting an extra $400. Now it's gonna take me call it 4 years to recoup that cost of that $16,000, but that's the risk you take in real estate. If you take a risk in this life, you can be rewarded really well. Sometimes you take a risk and you don't get rewarded well. But let's talk about what you can take away from this. What can you learn from my experience so that you don't have to do the same thing? I've got a couple things, okay? Number one, don't delay. I'm willing to have empathy. I'm willing to work with somebody who's going through a tough time, but I'm gonna give 30 days for somebody to get rent in order, but if not, I'm filing that eviction right away. I'm no longer listening to, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm in the process of this, you know, whatever, which leads me to number 2 that I learned in this scenario. Don't listen, look. What does that mean? Don't listen to what your tenants are telling you, because anybody can say anything. I want to look to see what they're doing. Actions speak louder than words. And then third and final thing that you can learn from this experience, learn your state's eviction laws. I wish I would have learned, oh, okay, I have to get the summons, I have to pick it up from the courthouse, I have to give it to the police officer to serve it to my tenant, everything like that. And if you don't fully understand them, even if you do feel like you fully understand them, ask questions. It's okay. With all that being said, there's this week's video, guys. I hope that you got a little bit of value out of this. And if you haven't done it already, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video. I want to help you go from point A to point B. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Stay vertical.